Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, hey. You already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's up, everybody? Welcome, episode 622 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here. It is August 4th, 2024. Padres, they take 2 out of 3 from the Colorado Rockies. And yeah, it's the Rockies. So, we're going to be thinking like, hey, the Padres should be doing this. But this is their first series win against the Rockies in the 2024 season. So that's significant. I was looking back at the schedule from this year, and they got swept by the Rockies once. They split a 4-game series, so that's what prevented them taking that. I think it was the first matchup that they had against the Rockies this year. So they finally got it, and these are the types of series that the Padres have to take advantage of if they want to stay in the division race, that hunt there with the Dodgers, behind the Dodgers, and especially if they want to, I don't know if they're even going to comfortably get into the postseason, but if they want to keep those postseason spots and really want to make sure, because they're in a good spot right now, got to take advantage of these teams that you should be beating, which obviously they didn't do enough of last year, and they haven't done as well as we would have hoped, right, in previous games this year, whether it's getting swept by the Rockies, like I just mentioned, or getting swept by the Los Angeles Angels in Anaheim earlier this year. Got to be better. And, thankfully, AJ Preller went and acquired Martin Perez, got at least a starting pitcher, and he ended up pitching well against the Rockies. That's one outing, but that was the big takeaway that I took from this series. I mean, yeah, it was great that the offense showed up today. A few home runs from Higgy and David Peralta and Jurickson Profar. Merrill and Manny had some doubles. Bogarts continues to hit well. Like, the offense, that's good. Matt Waldron, another good outing. That's good. But I think one of the questions, just for the rest of this regular season at least, probably not the postseason, but regular season, is, okay, so if you have the top of your rotation and they can be consistent, that's great. But, there's always that but there. What about the back of the rotation? And Martin Perez, that's an upgrade over Adam Major, at least right now. And Martin Perez could be an upgrade over Randy Vasquez once Joe Musgrove gets back. And Joe Musgrove, I'll have an update a little bit later. He had his first rehab start today with Lake Elsinore on the road. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. But yeah, Martin Perez, that was my big takeaway. Him going on Saturday. I'm probably going to be jumping around here on this show today. But him going 6 innings last night, 1 earned run. And he's had some of those outings this year with the Pirates where he's pitched really good, but then there's been some clunkers. So it's one start. I don't want to overreact, but he's a vet, smooth delivery. The changeup was working. The breaking ball was working. Pitches were down in the zone. He made like one big mistake, the homer that he gave up. But other than that, seems like it's off to a great start for Perez. And if he can do that and we're getting consistency from the rest of the rotation, the Padres are going to be set up to win a lot of games this year. A lot more games than they would have if this stuff didn't happen, right? The bullpen, obviously, that is viewed as a area of strength for the Padres. So if they can score some runs, consistency from the rotation, you got that bullpen, which could be the best bullpen in baseball when all things are said and done at the end of this season. The Padres are going to be a postseason team. That's a lot of ifs, right? Health is a big factor in that, but yeah, I was encouraged walking away from this. I know it's the Rockies, but I'm encouraged walking away from this series. Padres take 2 out of 3. If you want to join the show, click that link pinned up at the top of the chat. Please, just another reminder, if you're going to join the show, I really hope that you're actually a fan that wants to talk about the Padres, wants to talk about Major League Baseball, and you're not going to, do something inappropriate like something that has happened in the past on the show. Let's get to today's game. So I just got finished watching the condensed game highlights because I was working during this game, but Padres win 10-2. And the offense wasn't there from the get-go. They scored 1 run there through 5 innings? through 4 innings. Then they got a couple of runs in that 5th inning. It really got out of hand for the Rockies there late, 7th and 8th inning. The first run was the Jackson Merrill double, made it 1-0 in the gap. Bottom 5, Higgy had a homer. It seems like he loves hitting those homers in the day games. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like a lot of his home runs this year have been during day games. That made it 2-1. Profar had a homer, made it 3-1. That was his 19th home run of the season. David Peralta, one of those kind of unsung heroes. I think he's talked about in San Diego, but I don't think he's being talked about really outside of San Diego, and I'm not surprised. But he's been one of those underrated, solid additions that AJ Preller has made to this team as a veteran guy. There's a few of these veteran moves. David Peralta, Donovan Solano, Martin Perez as a starter there. There's some vets that have been added with very friendly contracts, obviously, these 1-year situations. And so far, they've been able to have a positive impact. We're not looking at any of these guys that Preller has added this year, these veteran guys, right? At least for me, maybe I'm forgetting someone. We're not looking at it as like last year where Rich Hill was added and look how that ended up, or 2021 where they add Jake Marisnick at the deadline, or who was the first base, G-Man Choi, the first base DH from last year before that deadline. We're not looking at it that way. Luis Arias, a veteran guy, obviously multiple-time All-Star, was an All-Star this year for the Padres, but impactful, good additions. I mean, remember last year, Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz were the 2 DH guys, and look how that turned out, Nelson Cruz didn't last the season. Matt Carpenter probably shouldn't have lasted the season the way he was playing, but the Padres wanted to try to find a trade, and they did with the Atlanta Braves for him. But this year, it's just been working out much, much better. And it's been with guys that were paid less money than someone like Matt Carpenter. Matt Carpenter, remember, he was given, a 2-year deal? Nelson Cruz was nothing. But Carpenter was given a pretty significant contract for his age and what he ended up doing for the Padres. But getting back to today, homers, that was great to see. And again, it's the Rockies. So, yes, they should be taking 2 out of 3 if they want to get where they want to get to. If they want to be a playoff team, yeah, take advantage of it. But I'm not going to be complaining about taking 2 out of 3 from the Rockies when they've had an issue doing that this season and in the past. 2 hits from Profar, from Cronenworth, from Manny, from Bogarts. Hits from Merrill, Peralta, Higgy, Arise. Every starter, no, Kim did not, sorry. He went over 3 today. But 12 hits from the Padres, 10 runs driven in, more walks today than punch-outs, so you love that combination. And then Matt Waldron was using that knuckleball, 5 2/3, 1 earned run, which was barely a home run, I might add. A couple of walks, but he struck out 7, and as I've said before, this is the guy the Padres can rely on. The sample size is there, and so, again, getting good starts, and then you have the bullpen, the offense, the team, they're rounding into a team that deserves to be a postseason team. They're not going to back their way in if they keep playing like this. This is 5 straight series wins? 3 on that road trip. Cleveland, Washington, Baltimore swept Washington. Took 2 out of 3 against those others. And then they come back home, take both of those games against the Dodgers, and then they take 2 out of 3 against the Rockies. And then they're going to be on the road. They got an off day tomorrow. But again, a stretch of teams that they should take advantage of, capitalize on these opportunities. They've got the Pirates, who aren't going to be a postseason team. They've got the Marlins, who are bad, and they've sold off pieces, obviously. A couple of them to the Padres. So, yeah. And then they come, I think, back home, and they've got, the Marlins, I think, and Rocky. I don't know if they have the Rockies again, but it's a stretch of it's 5 series against teams that are not good. And so far, it's off to a good start. You want to have a sweep, maybe even a couple, but you'd like to have a sweep in this stretch and win every series at least. And if that happens, then they'd be 10-5 or whatever in the stretch. And I'm not going to complain about that. And hopefully they will be able to get a little bit closer to the Dodgers in the NL West, and they will gain some ground, or at least, I know I think they're in a playoff spot right now, but at least improve their standing in the National League wild card picture. Because I'll pull it up right now. Padres, they're 4.5 games back in the division, and they hold that second wild card spot, but they're only a half game up on that second wild card spot. They're 2 games up on a playoff spot. So I don't know if the Mets, the Cardinals, they're going to keep, chugging along and playing at the stretch that they are. They haven't been great the last 10 games. The Mets are 5-5. The Cardinals are 4-6. But before that, they were hanging right. I mean, the Padres were playing well, but so was everyone else. So it's not like the Padres were gaining a bunch of ground. So hopefully the Padres during this stretch here, it could be the right time to really get go or not get going, but continue to go. And they can have, a 3-4 game lead at some point in the wild card race and make the Dodgers sweat a little bit. Again, I'm not here saying right now the Padres are going to win the division. I need it to be closer than even what it's at right now. But make the Dodgers sweat a little bit. But overall, good win today. Estrada, Matsui didn't give up any runs. Suarez is going to have a good amount of rest. Same thing with Tanner Scott and Jason Adam going into that Pirate series. And good news, the Padres will not have to face Paul Skeens. Although, the way things happen, the Padres would play well against Paul Skeens, and then whoever's in that Pirates rotation, they won't do well against them. That's kind of how it goes sometimes. But yeah, take 2 out of 3. Happy camper. Yesterday's game, less than 2 hours. Martin Perez, again, he's the story, I think, coming out of this weekend. Just being able to be better than Adam Azier, maybe be better than Randy Vasquez. When Musgrove comes back, you have a rotation of him, Dylan Cease, Michael King, Matt Waldron, and Martin Perez. And then maybe Darvish gets back at some point. But even if you don't, I still like those 5. Offensively yesterday, Padres got down, but then they came back, and that was that. Hunter Goodman had a homer in the third, made it 1-0, which, if I remember correctly, that wasn't even a terrible pitch. That was like the one mistake. I think it was up out of the zone, but it was still in the sweet spot for Goodman. That was the one big mistake that Martin Perez allowed. He allowed 3 hits in this game, but one of them was a little roller to third base, and then the other one was a single, but it wasn't hit super hard. Singled the outfield. Bottom 5, David Peralta with the ground out made it 1-1. Bottom 7, Xander Bogaerts RBI single made it 2-1. Great job out of Jackson Merrill, by the way. He had a sac fly in this game, and I don't believe it was the Padres that were calling for it. In the 5th inning, before Peralta had that ground out, Merrill had a sacrifice bunt, got runners to, I believe, second and third in that situation, which tied it up there. And, in that situation, you don't know what the score is going to end up being. And it ended up being crucial what Jackson Merrill did for the Padres in that situation. He had a sac fly, made it 3-1 in this game. Stallings did have a homer off of Tanner Scott. I don't think many Padres fans were expecting that to happen, including myself. But as I said in my post-game reaction yesterday, I'm not going to freak out about that. It's his first outing with the Padres. Look at his ERA still. It's 1.35. He was coming in with over 17 innings scoreless streak. Last 17 appearances, I believe, going into yesterday without allowing a run. So I'm going to look at that and be like, yeah, I'm not going to freak out over a home run. Then Robert Suarez gets the save. And yeah, I mean, the defense is something that for some reason I totally blanked on last night in my post-game reaction, so I'm going to give it love tonight. Manny and Croney last night. Manny at third made a couple of plays. When was the first time that we saw Manny make that play in a Padres uniform? Because he's done it multiple times. I feel like he does it multiple times every year. Excuse me. With the Padres, where balls hit down the line, he backhands it as he's running toward the visitor's dugout if we're at Petco. makes the fadeaway throw, and hits it right on target to the first baseman, to Jake, in this situation. So he did that, and that was huge because that was, I believe, the inning. Yeah, that was the inning where Jacob Stallings had the homer. And if that runner would have reached, then that game would have been tied at 3 in that situation. And who knows if the Padres would have won that game? Who knows if the situation would have uh, unraveled even worse for the Padres in that spot. So great job out of Manny. Not surprised. Those that watch Manny day in, day out, like Padres fans, we know how great of a talent he is. And I wish he would win a Gold Glove as a third baseman with the Padres here at some point, because we've seen a lot of great plays that look easy because it's Manny there, where other third basemen in baseball would make it look very difficult. And maybe that's actually what helps other third basemen, because it looks difficult. And sometimes with Manny, it doesn't look difficult. So maybe those that are voting on it, it's like, he's not making really any difficult plays. But he doesn't make it look difficult. That's the talent there, you know? And then I think in ninth inning, where Manny, another ball down the line, and this time it wasn't a perfect throw to Jake. It was leading him down the first baseline. So Jake had to step into the first base path, reach back to tag the runner, and he barely got the runner there. But that was huge as well, because who knows if that base runner reaches, and then something happens. That was the first out of the ninth inning. So if a runner reaches there, then you got Ryan McMahon up at the plate. I know he struck out, and Toglia got out after that as well, but you just don't know. You just don't know if that runner would have gotten to second base at some point on the McMahon strikeout. Then even if Toglia gets out, it's 2 outs, and there's still a runner in scoring position, though. Who knows? Like, I have confidence in Robert Suarez, obviously, but these were huge plays. It wasn't the first inning. It was late in the game. Show up big, and that's what Manny did. That's what Croney did. There was a great play, by the way, today. David Peralta robbing a homer. So there was some spectacular defense this series by the Padres. And then a 5-2 loss in game 1 of this series. That's kind of what's going to happen when you have guys, key contributors. Profar went 0 for 3. Bogarts went 0 for. He hasn't been doing that a whole lot. Merrill went 0 for. That's going to happen. And Jeremiah Estrada, that's one of those as well, where it's like, I'm not going to freak out over that. It wasn't his night. 2/3 of an inning, gave up 3 earned runs. Alec Jacob didn't pitch that great either when he first came into the game in game 1 of this series. And the offense got to do more. Also, it was a combination of things. It was pretty much like a team loss on Friday. It wasn't just one area to blame. Didn't do much against Austin Gomber. Austin Gomber looked great. 7 innings, 2 earned runs. Then the bullpen wasn't its best either. And so, yeah, it was a bummer. And I'm sure that there were some overreactions, because that's what social media is. I'm sure there were some overreactions to Friday's loss, because it's like, oh, here we go again, losing to the Rockies. Why can't we beat the Rockies? And I understand that, but at the same time, let's realize how the Padres are playing right now. Just because they lose one game doesn't mean we should freak out about everything. When they had, going into this series, won 4 consecutive series, beating better teams than the Rockies, still had a couple of games left to go win the series. It wasn't the end of the world. But I get it. Baseball, it's a daily sport. It's when we follow it every day, we're going to overreact at some point. It's a long season. You feel good if your team wins that day. You feel bad if they don't. And sometimes if they win, there's going to be some of those glass half empty fans that still aren't going to feel great because, they didn't win the way that you wanted them to. And it's like, well, all right, you can feel that way. But for me, I care about the wins and the losses, like literally. So if they win, great. That's awesome. If they lose, then didn't do a good enough job. Sometimes it's baseball and weird things happen, but there's definitely overreactions. That's with every fan base, though. I'm not here like only criticizing Padres fans that overreact to stuff. It's just That's just what baseball is. It's a long season. But those that watch it every night, you get wrapped up in those emotions of the game. Players, coaches can't really do that. Got to move on. But fans, we have all day to think about it, Brendan Rodgers had a homer on Friday, made it 1-0. Manny homer, passed Dave Winfield on the Padres all-time homer list. I think he's fourth now? Third or fourth? That made it 1-1 in the bottom of the second. Solano homer, made it 2-1. Chris Bryant, I was kind of joking on Friday. Was this like a signature Rockies moment? Because I cannot think of one, legitimately. I cannot think of a Chris Bryant moment with the Rockies other than him just seeing news alerts of, oh, Chris Bryant, he's on the IL again. But he made it 3-2 in the sixth off of Estrada. Of course, a lot of people were giving it to me on social media like I was the reason why the Padres lost on Friday because I tweeted out a picture of Jeremiah Estrada warming up in the bullpen, and I captioned it with "what a luxury," because I'm sure that's what hundreds of Padres fans were thinking when they saw Jeremiah Estrada warming up in the pen. They just didn't tweet it out, right? But yeah, I mean, it is, even with what happened, it is a luxury to have a starter. He can go 5, that's fine. Go 5, keep us in the game, and then you have Estrada, Adam, Scott, and Suarez for 4. And then you have Morhone as well if you want to mix him in there. You have Alec Jacob, you have Yuki Matsui who closed out today's game. So there's a lot of options, good options in this Padres bullpen, which we could say 3, like lean on these 3 guys, but it wasn't 5. It wasn't maybe 6. It was 3. Now it's a majority of the bullpen, like I've said multiple times since the deadline. It's the majority of the bullpen that you can rely upon, and it is a luxury. So for those on social media that just like to get on me because they don't like me for some reason, I still stand by what I said. It is still a luxury, and Mike Schild is still in a good spot. Him and Ruben Niebla is still in a good spot, even if it didn't work out on one night of 162 with Jeremiah Estrada. He's been really good this season. I'm going to still trust Jeremiah Estrada. Jake Cave RBI single made it 4-2 after Chris Bryant came through. Top 7, McMahon at a sac fly, 5-2. And yeah, that was that. So, you go over. Yeah, there was a couple of homers by the Padres, but bullpen wasn't at its best. You go 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. You leave 5 guys on base. There's an error. That's not the best recipe to get a win. I don't care if you're playing a team that is now 41-72 and in last place in the NL West. It's still a major league team out there. There's still players that are trying to win. And especially those, and I've said this before too, like those players that are on the bad teams, they have nothing. Well, they actually have like everything to lose. Some of them, they're playing for like their next contract. They're playing to make a good impression on Bud Black or whoever it may be to put themselves in the best position to go make the roster next year or make themselves appealing to teams in the offseason to go acquire them in a trade, or maybe they're a free agent at the end of the year and they didn't get dealt before the deadline. Let me finish this year off strong so I can be more appealing to contending teams, or I could get more money next year in the offseason. Maybe it's not a contending team, but I can get the money there, then go get traded to a contending team for the next year. So I'm not on the Colorado Rockies next year, at this time. So some of those times, like the bad teams can be the most dangerous teams, like the teams you don't want to play sometimes. But still, Padres, let's capitalize on this 15-game stretch, now 12, next 12, of playing teams that aren't going to be in the postseason this year. All right. Any takeaways from this series? Feel free to let me know in the chat, the comments, any questions. I'll get to those. If you want to join the show, click that link pinned up at the top of the chat. I'm going to take a quick break and then get to some other topics. Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well. All right, I want to get to a Joe Musgrove update. The latest on Joe Musgrove, obviously we're waiting for him to come back, pitch at the big league level. We know that he wants to do that. this has been like some of the worst months for him because he wants to be out there, obviously, for his hometown team. The update, and Too Much Morton's posted video on social media of Joe Musgrove's outing today, some of the strikeouts that he had, or just some of the strikes that he threw today. He was pitching for Lake Elsinore. It's weird seeing him wear number 45, by the way, not 44. But he went 3 1/3, first rehab start since, starting to ramp up, obviously, since going on the IL. The good news, no walks. He got 43 pitches in, I believe. A lot of strikes. Over 80% of his pitches were strikes. And obviously, again, no walks. He was using not just fastballs, but he was using breaking balls as well. And I get it. These are high A, single A guys. I get it. But I'm not really focused on the results. I'm more focused on, okay, how many innings? What's the pitch count? Is he throwing strikes? Do things look good? Is the velocity there? I think it was 94, 96 on his fastball, something like that. So that's an encouraging update. Maybe Mike Schitt will have more to say on it later, Tuesday in Pittsburgh or something. But it seems like Musgrove is coming out of that outing good. And yeah, that's that. I assume that he is going to come back not the next time around, but the time around after that. So probably when the Padres are back home. If I take a quick peek at the Padres schedule here, let's say he comes back the 16th, maybe. August 13th through the 15th, the Padres are hosting the Pirates. Maybe that series, maybe when they go to Colorado. They might want to have him debut at home, actually, and not have to go to Colorado. So we might be looking at the Pirates series before that trip to Colorado. Because if he's every fifth day, 1, 2, 3, 4, then he would pitch Friday the 9th and then be available for the 14th against the Pirates. Could do that. But that's the update that I have. Encouraging. As for you, Darvish, still no really update there. Don't know when he's going to come back. And now that Martin Perez is in the fold, if Musgrove comes back, then Vasquez could go down to the minors, be more of a depth guy. It makes this team better, obviously, having Joe Musgrove. And I know that there's some that might be down on Musgrove because they remember a big stretch of last year where it wasn't pretty and a stretch of this year where not pretty. But I'll point you back to 2022 postseason. I'll point back to a stretch of 11 starts last year where he was one of the best pitchers in baseball, late May until he got hurt last year. So it's in there. He's one of those like Max Scherzer types where he's a freaking competitor. I want that guy on the mound. He may not be the most talented guy in the big leagues, may not have the 98, 99 in the 7th inning of a game type velocity, but he's going to go out there, he's going to compete, and he's going to give it his all. And I want him back. I've missed seeing Joe start games for the Padres. No doubt about that. All right. Let's get to the chat here, because I think that's all the updates that I have. Oh, Michael King. Michael King, that was the other update. He is going to start at some point during the Pirates series. I don't know what day yet. You can let me know in the chat if that's been announced. But it's going to be Cease and King and then someone else. In that Pittsburgh series, Waldron obviously started today. Michael King, he was still sore. He had not thrown a bullpen as of Friday. I believe he threw a bullpen, him and Cease, today. So makes sense why both of them would start in Pittsburgh. But yeah, we knew he wasn't going to start on Sunday when he hadn't thrown a bullpen on Friday. You're not starting if you don't throw a bullpen in between starts, for the most part, right? So he was sore. There was swelling there. Off the comebacker, remember early in that Baltimore start. So this could actually be like a blessing in disguise, kind of, right? Because maybe this is going to be one less start for Michael King on the year, or it's it's given him more time in between starts, so he could be fresher for this next start against Pittsburgh. I'm trying to look at the positives, and it's way easier for me to look at the positives with Michael King not pitching today when the Padres won the series and Matt Waldron still delivered a nice start. Than if they had to have gone with the bullpen day, not Matt Waldron today, and the Padres lost the series to the Rockies, right? So at the end of the day, it seems like it ended up being the right decision for Michael King not to be out there today. Iron Swan says, our trend in recent years has been a hot August/September. If we keep this up against division rivals, who knows, we may be able to take the division. I hope so. Of course, I'd love to take the division, but what matters the most is making the postseason. And then what do you do once you get there? NOS titles are nice, but I'm sure if you talk to Dodger fans, they're probably over NOS titles as that being like their highlight of the season, which it's funny, seeing that as their highlight. That's amazing. Because what matters the most is, going deep in the postseason, winning that World Series in a full season. But yeah, you're right, Iron Swan, about, obviously last year played well in 2022 going into the postseason. So hopefully, if they do, they're going to be hopefully comfortably into the postseason. Yeah, glad about the series winning homestand. Really good homestand. They lost one game on the homestand. That include the Dodgers. And I don't care, by the way, anyone that wants to say, oh, injuries for the Dodgers. Yeah. Go look at the Padres. We've got injuries too. We don't have Musgrove, okay? We didn't have like Tanner Scott and those guys, some of those guys during that Dodgers series. They didn't pitch. Tatis, that's a pretty darn big part. They don't have Mookie. Well, we don't have Tatis. That's a pretty darn big part, of our team. So, Xander was out for a while, months. Darvish has been out for a long time. Manny wasn't fully healthy and he wasn't playing third base every day for a significant chunk of the season. Like, we've dealt with it. So anyone that wants to say that, oh, well, we don't have our guys not healthy. You have a point, but there's a lot of teams in baseball that are like that. So you kind of have to get over it and just go win. Dave says Padres are heading to upper 80s in wins. 87 is the pace. 88 is what I believe. Brooklyn. You mean the LA Dodgers? LA is only 94 wins on the pace, so the division is a real possibility. Yeah. No, it is. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm not on the train like, oh, yeah, they're going to go win the division. Like, because I do, as much as I hate the Dodgers, I still respect that they've been able to do it year in and year out almost every year for a long time. And they've got the advantage. Dave says the Mets, Cardinals, and Pirates all lost today. Is that true? Well, that's great. If that's the case. Dodgers were playing the A's. Sorry, just pulling it up here. So let's see. So the Giants beat the Reds 8-2. D-backs won, but Pirates lost. Yep. So Pirates lost. Braves lost. Mets lost. Cardinals lost. Yeah. So that is a pretty favorable day, Dave, for the Padres, for sure. Iron Swan says, super surprised by Perez, was skeptical, about the move, but so far so good. Yeah, I was surprised, but I wasn't super surprised because I saw that video of Niebla working with Perez. He had it in him this year. It's not like he's had all bad outings. He's been able to go 6-7 innings sometimes this year and give up no runs, one earned run. So it's there. Veteran guy. I knew he had a smooth delivery going in. I was assuming that the Padres had looked at stuff and they knew the adjustments to throw at him as Perez came into San Diego. So I was like, there's an opportunity. There's a good chance here that he is going to provide a solid outing. I wasn't expecting it to be that good, but yeah, I'm not. I was not expecting like some for him to suck. Someone asked here what happened in the past. I don't think I watched that show. Oh, just yeah, it was just some trolls on here that they pretended to talk about baseball or the Padres or something, and then they did stuff that's inappropriate. Let's see. Josh says, Ben, you keep saying the Pirates aren't good. They're closer to the wild card than we are to the Dodgers. You make a good point there. I'm saying that I don't think they're going to be a postseason team. Yes, they're a game over 500. We should still respect them. But if I'm going to pick 3 wild card teams right now, the Pirates are not one of them. It's the Braves, it's us, and then it's probably, to be honest, either the D-backs or the Cardinals. I don't think the Mets are going to make it. It's not the Pirates for me. Maybe it's because I don't watch them every day, but I don't believe in the pitching that they have. Their run differential is -5, so it's not, run differential is not everything, as we saw last year with the Padres, but Braves are plus 55, Padres are plus 48, D-backs are plus 45, Mets are plus 28, and then you've got the Cardinals at -42, and you've got the Pirates at -5. So for me, it's really those 5 teams in front of the Pirates: Cardinals, Mets, D-backs, Padres, Braves. I'm just not a believer in the Pirates. So, yeah, okay, if you want to be like technical and like factual with, okay, they have a winning record, so don't put them in the same category as the Marlins and the Rockies, that's fair for sure. But it's still a series I think the Padres should go expect to win. They should go win. We should expect them to go win. That's all. C-Dub, sorry, no updates on Tatis. Swinging, throwing. I saw him out there with the team during batting practice this week, I think. But he has not progressed to running. I feel like I've been saying that for 3 weeks now, but that's all I know on the update there. Yeah, I agree, Connor. The Pirates, they're decent, but I hope the decent doesn't get them into the postseason. Their stadium, yeah, I've not been, but it does look great. The view looks great. It's consistently ranked as like a top 5 ballpark in baseball. Yeah. That's one I probably should go to at some point. Diego says, King getting rested a lot now, isn't starting every 5 days, more like 7 to 8. Well, if you factor in like the All-Star break, but this was, I feel like they were like, okay, they're swelling. Let's take this opportunity to not start him on Sunday and give him a little bit more rest, because that can maybe add up. These days of going every 5 days can add up on you. So you have an opportunity, see it, take it. That's what I'm seeing. I don't think there's anything wrong with his arm. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing velocity concerns or anything like that. For me, it was, okay, he got hit pretty hard. He actually pitched well in that outing. Got hit pretty hard. It swelled. And let's take this opportunity to give him a few more days. AJ asks, what's your feel for Waldron? His numbers over his last 6 appearances have been good, but I'm just wondering if there is a risk of the knuckleball being found out at some point. I think it would already have been found out. I mean, how many starts does Waldron have now? He's got a lot this season where he's been throwing the knuckleball more frequently than usual, or at least like in the past. He's got 23 starts. He's got almost 130 innings. I think it would have been found out. I'm not saying he's going to be dominant, the rest of his career. If it would have been found out, I feel like it would have been found out earlier. He said there's been a lot of opportunities to do damage for teams to see Matt Waldron, see that knuckleball. But it's hard. I imagine it's hard as a big league hitter to face a guy that's throwing the knuckleball when nobody else in baseball, I don't believe, throws it. You can talk about it all you want, but it's different once you see it in the box, I would imagine. What's up, David?
Hey
How's it going,
Ben,
man?
good. How are you doing this Sunday?
Doing good.
First, I just wanted to thank you for doing these shows and stuff. Where I've probably said this before, but where I live, there's not a lot of people that I can talk to about Padres and stuff. And you've really helped me like find some people to talk to and connect with them and have fun. So first, I just wanted to thank you for that.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
But yeah, and talking about the series, first game sucked. I mean, it sucked. It was I was sad that we just lost. It wasn't a bad loss. It was just a regular plain loss.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just couldn't get much going besides the 2 home runs, and of course Austin Gomber decided to pitch like Garrett Cole against us, like every pitcher does. But that sucked.
Well, yeah, let's find a different guy than Garrett Cole because I don't believe he's actually pitching that well. So let's say he's like Paul Skeens. He turned into like Paul Skeens or Shota Imanaga or who else is in the Cy Young race? But I get your point. Go ahead.
Yeah, the second game it was a close game. I was kind of scared because it was 3-1, and then Tanner Scott gave up that bomb to Jacob Stallings, and I literally gasped. I was like, oh, because that doesn't usually happen. I'm pretty sure Don and Mudd said he's only given up 2 home runs the entire year. And of course, his first outing gives up an absolute bomb. Maybe not an absolute bomb, but he barreled it. I heard it on the broadcast. I heard it. It was an echo. It was a bomb.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it either, as I said earlier. But Jacob Stallings, he's not Albert Pujols, obviously. But when there's velocity like Tanner Scott has, the upper 90s, you don't need to have a huge swing. If it's in your right spot, pull side, not super deep at Petco and left, not a huge fence, then yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot. I think that just shows how good Tanner Scott has been, that you talk about the lack of home runs that he's allowed. Like him having the velocity, he's been so good with his location, I assume. And I'm sure he can blow away some guys, but he's been so good with that location of his pitches. Because if he wasn't, then I assume he'd be giving up more because 99 guys face that every day in the big leagues now.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching as soon as the pitch left his hand, I kind of knew something was going to happen. Because, I mean, I play baseball. I'm a pitcher mostly. I've done that, especially because I think Jacob Stallings is like 6'4", 6'5". So when you throw a pitch that's down in the zone, all they got to do is just drop the barrel, and and they're just going to golf it out of there.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and heading back earlier in the game, I'm going to take this with a grain of salt because, it is the Rockies. I don't want to say they're bad because they have some good players, but it's the Rockies.
No, that's all right. They're bad.
I forgot. I think they have, 41 wins and I think like 72 losses.
Yeah.
Because they came in 40-70. Martin Perez, I mean, he had no walks, I think 7 strikeouts. And that 1 home run he gave up, which was his only run, it was a fastball above the zone.
Exactly.
I think, what was it, Brendan Rodgers, he just got to. Because that's going to happen sometimes. Sometimes the hitter just beats you.
Yeah, I think it was their catcher that doesn't actually play very much. But yeah, it was out of the zone. One of the other 2 hits that he gave up was a dribbler that Manny obviously didn't get to, which no other third baseman would have gotten to and thrown the guy out anyway, unless he was playing on the infield grass and playing for a bunt. So yeah, very encouraged by Martin Perez. Now, Adam Mazur, remember he had that good start against the Angels in his big league debut, and then look what happened. So yeah, I'm not going to overreact, but I think it's fair for us to sit here and say that we trust Martin Perez more than Adam Mazur. Perez has been in the big leagues for a long time. He knows what he's doing. The Padres, went into this Martin Perez experiment, if you will, knowing what they wanted to try to fix and improve upon with him. And it's worked out so far. Sure, we want him. For fans that want to, wait and see, you want to see him against like better offenses, better competition. But again, give starts, like that, give starts of 5 innings and a couple of runs even. That should be good enough. When that's your 5 starter, And you've got the consistency out of the rest of the rotation. You've got the offense that can score runs. You have that bullpen that can cover 6, 7, 8, and 9. The good thing with Martin Perez is the Padres, it doesn't seem like they're going to be asking him to do a ton here. Maybe that'll put less pressure on him. He's someone, and I made this point, I think, the other day. When you're a veteran like that and you're on a 1-year deal, you were with the Pirates, you're trying to do whatever it takes to just stay on in the big leagues. And so he's definitely going to take what the Padres want him to do and try it out. And it's one start, but yeah, so far it's working. The changeup, the breaking ball, the pitches are down. He's pounding the strike zone. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I hope Martin can not be Adam Major and probably hopefully be. I'm not gonna say hopefully he's like a Cy Young pitcher. Of course, we all hope that, but it's most likely not gonna happen. I just hope he's a solid starter. A lefty that can pitch in the postseason, give us some good innings, don't give up a bunch of runs, and help the offense stay in the game. 'Cause that's really all we need, and especially
Yeah,
with Diablo.
yeah. The whole postseason part, I'm not even thinking about that. For me, this was a move Preller made to get the Padres to the postseason. Get Perez, because when the postseason comes around, what is your 5 starter? He's not on the roster, probably. Especially like wild card series, not on the roster. Division series, probably bullpen role, long man bullpen. But would the Padres even need him to be pitching in those postseason games unless it's a huge blowout? Because ideally in the postseason, you use 4 starters, and that would be, if guys are healthy, it would be Cease, it would be King, Musgrove, and Waldron. It wouldn't be Perez. I do think back, though, to like Anibal Sanchez with the Nats, I think in 2019, where he was like their 4 starter, and he was surprisingly like one of their stars in one of those games in the postseason. So it can happen. I'm not even thinking like they acquired him for the postseason. They acquired him to give them more chances to win those 5th starter games than they were having a chance to do, really.
Yeah. And now to talk about those sweet, sweet plays by Manny Machado. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish when my coach puts me at third base, I'm always thinking, man, I want to be like Manny Machado because he's just so good and so slick with the glove. Like you said earlier, he makes everything look so easy. Like a ball, like a weird hop, he picks it, automatic out. A ball down the line, he makes a long throw, he's still out. And I mean, Jake Cronenworth had to help him out in that one in the 9th inning, but I mean, he's just so good at third base. And we're so grateful to have him here long term and just watch him make those plays every night.
Yeah, I mean, there's the good and the bad from, some Padres fans' viewpoints. The bad of like, oh, he doesn't hustle all the time, or him making things look easy may come off as, oh, he's not trying, he's being too casual. But he's been in the big leagues a long freaking time. And I will take Manny Machado. I will take the good and the bad from Manny for him to be on this Padres team. Does he say the best quotes to the media all the time? No. Sometimes does he run out balls not the way we want him to? Yes. But yeah, his defense, what he can do when he's on it offensively, he can pretty much put a team on his back, as we saw in 2022. He's someone that wants to be out there on the field. He knows how valuable he is to the team. He plays through injury. There's a lot of things I respect from Manny, and I don't think that there's many, but I hope that those that do maybe take it for granted a little bit, hopefully they can change that, because, yeah, he is one special player, and there's a lot of other third basemen in baseball that the Padres could have, and we have Manny Machado. So, yeah, good points.
Yeah. And that Jackson Merrill bunt, I believe either you said it or I heard on the broadcast. I don't exactly remember. But somebody said that bunt was not, I don't think it was I don't think it was like a sign that he got. Right. I think he did it on his own. And I know if that was me or maybe you, I would probably be trying to swing for a gap or a home run to try to get us the lead. But he's, being smart. Maybe he's not feeling the best of the plate. So he's like, okay, let me bunt over these runners and let the next guy in the order drive them in.
Yeah. And again, like I'm not surprised by that with Jackson Merrill. He is a team guy, and he saw the situation. Like I think they were down 1-0 in that spot. You're not producing a whole lot offensively. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the team in the game in that situation. There's no outs, I believe. Get the bunt down. You see, he saw that third base was not like crashing in on a bunt or anything or expecting a bunt. Wasn't like Anthony Rizzo, how he plays super far in sometimes. It wasn't that. Get it down, get the runners over, trust other guys in the lineup. Just do your job, really. And yeah, sometimes there's players that don't do their job. They try to do too much, but that's not who Jackson Merrill is. And yeah, I've been super impressed by that. But I guarantee you, if we talk to him about that, he wouldn't be like talking too much about it. He'd be like, yeah, like no duh, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm trying to win here. I care. I only care about winning. If we win, then I'm happy. If we don't, then I'm not. So yeah, I was not super surprised by that. And no, I don't believe it was called. I don't think Schilt like said specifically it wasn't called. That was his call. But I read in the UT in that game story, I believe by Jeff Sanders. I don't think Jeff said it either, but there was a quote that followed up about it, and Merrill was talking about how he knew what the situation was. So that's how I assume that it was not called by the Padres, and that was Jackson Merrill doing it. And I don't think the Padres would call for that, to be honest. When Jackson Merrill's up at the plate, he could do damage. So I don't know if they would have even called for that. But yeah, that's who Merrill is.
Yeah. And getting to this third game, I was kind of popping back and forth. On Sundays I have church and stuff, and I'm kind of like I pop it back in the game, watching it, and then kind of like doing other stuff, and then coming back to the game. It's close for the first part of the game, and I'm kind of like toning it a little bit extra to see if he can like pull through. And then I pop back in, and it's 8-2, and then like it's 10-2. And then I'm like, oh, we ran away with this game. Because I mean, it was the late innings. I think it was 6th, 7th, and 8th inning. We scored like 2, 3, and then 2 or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's happened multiple times this year, right? Where it's been close first half or so of the game, and then they pull away. And I don't remember that happening a ton last year. But this year, again, it's like the team identity of continuing to fight. And eventually, if we continue to have good at bats, we're going to get to that bullpen. And that bullpen's not as good as our bullpen. We have confidence in the guys in this lineup. We have confidence in our ability to play situational baseball. Sometimes you're going to get the power from David Peralta and Kyle Higashioka. And there you go. That's how the blowouts happen, and you can slam the door. It was one of those games that the Padres needed. It's not one of those that's going to be like remembered as this big comeback victory or anything like that. Just get the win. You're playing the Rockies. Get the nice win and get on the flight to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And speaking of David Peralta, I'm pretty sure the catch that he had the wall, I'm pretty sure that was going to go over. So
Yep.
I mean, when he went up and caught that reminded me of last year when Tatis went up and just snatched that home run back from Michael Ciani on the Cardinals. Yep. It reminded me exactly like that. Like pretty much same position, not exact same catch because Tatis has more hops, but it was pretty much the same catch.
Yeah. Tatis is just with his athleticism. It was definitely more of a memorable like highlight play of last year. But no, David Peralta, he got up as high as he needed to. I'll say that. And yeah, it was a spectacular catch. Obviously, the Padres loved that. And still, though, I just waiting for Tatis to come back. I mean, again, like the whole depth thing, when Tatis comes back, to have David Peralta possibly be a bench guy, that would be a luxury to have.
Yeah. And I want to get to Han-Sang Kim because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he got a hit in this series. I know he went 0-4 today. I'm pretty sure he went 0-4 yesterday, but I don't think he got a single hit in this series. And it's kind of worrying because I know he's really good at defense, which is what's more valuable. Well, not more valuable, but it's definitely valuable to have a good Gold Glove defender like him. But I kind of want to see not even just hit bombs. I just want to see him hit singles. Like I want you to get on because he's really really fast.
Yeah, Johnny had a super chat in here, and he just talked about that with Kim. Says time to sit Kim and put Bogarts back at short. And I've seen that on social media. Thank you, Johnny, by the way, for that super chat. I appreciate it. Um, that's just for me. I just don't see how that's going to happen consistently. The Padres, one, they're winning, and if they keep winning, then I don't see big changes happening. Xander Bogaerts, there was the big thing about him moving to second base, and so they're going to put him at shortstop. I'm not saying that would be a big deal because he knows how to play short. Obviously, he's played it his whole life, but putting him at short, then that means you have Cronenworth at second. That's great. You have Arise at first, though, playing first every day, if that's what you're going to be doing. And then you have Solano DHing, which offensively, I get what people are saying. That's not the worst thing. But Ha-Sung Kim and Mike Schill will tell you this. He brings value defensively. And there's been some errors. I think there's been more errors than what I was expecting going into this season and what he probably had last year, at least to this time into the season. But he's still a special player defensively. And it goes back to the if they're winning. If they're winning, and they are, then I don't see how they're going to be changing a whole lot up. And Ha-Sung Kim, like, he's just going to be down at the bottom of the order. If other guys come through, which there's talent on this team for other guys to come through, it won't be that big of a deal. Should they do it every once in a while? Yeah, I'm on board for that every once in a while. I just don't think they want to have Xander Bogaerts go play shortstop more than every once in a while. I think they want him to be at second base. I think they want him to know, like, dude, this is where you're going to be. You're a second baseman now. At least for this season, you're a second baseman now. We're going to have Cronenworth at first. That's a better right side of the infield than Cronenworth at second and Arise probably at first, I would think. Bogaerts, he recently dove, so he's getting more comfortable coming back off the IL, so that's good. Croney, I like Croney, love him at second base. But would you rather have Croney at first or have Luis Arise at first? And would you rather have Kim out there defensively or not Kim out there defensively? So if the offense starts being an issue and Kim continues to struggle, then maybe. But I just don't see them trying to fix something that isn't broke. Now, you could say Kim himself is broke offensively, but I'm talking about the team. It's not broke right now, so I don't see them trying to go fix it.
Yeah. And I got scared with Kim because I thought he almost got hurt like Bogarts did, diving.
He always does that. Yeah. There were times last year, sometimes beginning of this year where he does that, and I'm worried about it. But whenever they show him when he dives and he comes up like that, I don't get worried anymore. I'll get worried once he's actually hurt. It happens every time. He dives and his initial look on his face is like, "Oh, I'm really hurt," but he's not. So yeah, some fans are gonna see that and think that, but I've gotten over that.
Yeah, I don't know if he's being extra sometimes. Maybe he's just mad at himself that he couldn't make the play. I don't know. It's just it's weird.
Yeah, I got you for sure. All right, anything else, David?
Not that I can think of.
All right, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good one. All right, some of the other great partners of the show, just a reminder, Breaking Tea, Padres and Aztec shirts and sweatshirts. Click that link in the description. I'm actually wearing the San Diego shirt that they have right now, so you can go check some of those shirts out. Again, link in the description. Underdog Fantasy, you will get to claim a special pick and to get a 50% deposit match up to $250 with code Talking Friars or when you click that link in the description. And then same code, Talking Friars, $20 off your first order with SeatGeek. First order with an email address, use that code, and you can get that discount. Please use those to your advantage, trying to help you out. All right, any more in the chat here? Coming up, by the way, Padres, they've got 3 games in Pittsburgh, and then they've got that series against the Miami Marlins in Miami. Off day tomorrow on Monday. Miss Paul Skeens. The starters are to be determined. It's going to be Cease and King and then someone else, I imagine. But Bailey Falter on Tuesday for the Pirates. That's at 3:40. 3:40 again on Wednesday. I believe Marco Gonzalez for the Pirates. And then on Thursday, some early morning, 9:35 a.m. our time, Padres baseball. It's going to be, I think, Luis Ortiz on the mound for the Pirates. And all those games will be on Padres TV. Listen on 97.3 The Fan, obviously. And we'll see if the Padres can take those Pirates down to under 500 by the end of this series. Dylan says Merrill plays like he's been in the game for 10 years. Dude's a stud. Oh, yeah. Totally agree with that. Michelle says, I have such high hopes for the Pods this season. They're fighting hard lately and looking great. Poor Kim looks down lately. I feel like he's going through something. Well, he's going through a slump. I'll say that. Ha-Seong Kim, he's a fan favorite. The chance at Petco, obviously. And I've been disappointed offensively with Kim's year. I thought that we were going to get the same Kim that we got offensively last year. And that would have been fantastic. And there's still time in the season for him to get on a good run here. But right now, it just seems like Padres are winning. He still provides you something defensively. And so he gets that luxury to try to work through it offensively. And if he doesn't, even then, I don't think there's going to be this change of Kim being taken out of the field. If there is, he's going to go back in the game late in a game defensively, I would imagine. And they take a rise off of first and they move everyone over to the right. Bogart's the second, Cronenworth the first. I would think. It would be like a Jose Azocar. I think Manny Margot did that a little bit at the tail end of his Padres career. But there's that value that he has defensively that the Padres appreciate. And so whether we like it or not, I just don't see them making that move of taking Ha-Seong Kim and benching him because of what he has offensively, or what he hasn't done, I should say, offensively. Yeah, he did, by the way. He didn't get a hit in this Rockies series, but the Padres took 2 out of 3. There was good offensive moments from a lot of guys other than Ha-Seong Kim in this series. So at least that is happening. It'd be one thing if he and others weren't performing, but it seems like he's the real only one that's not doing it right now. Yeah, I agree, Connor. Campy's been good. Same thing with Higgy. Padres have a good catching combination right now. They do. All right, that's going to do it. Talking Friars, episode 622. Thank you, everyone, for coming and watching or listening to the show live or on replay. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night, and I'll talk to y'all later. Go Pods.